করবো আজকে স্টিল ফটোগুলো তুলবে
Okay, come closer. And we are here because I want to show you in front of you where there was the arena. Then, can you see, well, there is a platform built in the 1990s just to help our imagination. Well, on the right side of the platform, can you see the floor is opened? There is a ramp.
Attention please, Mr. or Mrs. Sheng Zong-soon. Sheng Zong-soon is expected at the office on the ground floor. Attention please, Mr. or Mrs. Sheng Zong-soon. Sheng Zong-soon is expected at the office on the ground floor.
We have your time.
Alle 10 ho prenotato per il Colosseo, ho prenotato per il Forum, non per il Colosseo. No. Che mi hanno mandato quello cartaceo, poi è stato consegnato per prendere i biglietti. C'era scritto così.
वो कुछ हमें कुछ
वो 40 में उसमें है।
अच्छा
আমি এতটা উঠবো না, এরকম উঠলে কি আমি
तुम तो एक जगह था
लास्ट वाले
de Roma, de questa
Even like agriculture. Yeah. And beef. We raise a lot. Yeah. We're kind of on the tip of the wheat belt, so we're big on coffee. Yeah, we're wheat too. We're main. Yeah, okay. So we do a lot of wheat, but they have more stud cattle, some sheep. We had sheep for a while.
Yeah, we've got, we've got, the pigs, the sheep, but our main, I guess, industry is beef.
Okay.
They say they're nice steaks. Yeah, many Texans say things from Texas, but that's not true.
I really didn't want to bring it up because I know it's free up for pigs, but
What's that building over there?
oh my god.
That's the Colosseum.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah. I thought it was a question right there. Another Caesar was the very last dictator. When he came into power, he had this fantastic idea. Dictator for life. And the people say yay because the people loved and adored Julius Caesar. And the army says yay because the army would have followed him to the ends of the earth. The only people with a bit of a problem with this new title was the Senate. And the Senate was even less enchanted when 2 weeks later, as his first order of business, he charged 250 senators with corruption, kicked them out of the Senate. Now, these men were not versatile. So the reason why the army loved Caesar so much was because he was one of the gods. He fought alongside them. Same reason why the people loved him so much. So Caesar was from a very good family, descendant of the goddess Venus. Good family. So here's the thing, but they were poor. So one of these things where they had been a wealthy family. By the time Caesar's born, I mean, they've got money. But he lived in Subura. And Subura is basically just on the other side. When you go outside, there'll be the Imperial Forums. Behind that was Subura, roughest neighborhood in Rome. So even when he became a great general, started making a lot of money, he still lived with the people. Eventually, he'll build a fancy house up in the Palatine Hill, which was the good part of town. But he was among the people. And the army loved him. Militaries today still studied the tactics of Julius Caesar. Genius. And he fought alongside them. So it wasn't just you go and do this. I will lead you to do this.
What age was he at when he was doing all this?
He's going to come into his own basically in his 30s. So in the beginning, he's going to be in a triumphant with Pompey and Cassius.
Okay.
Cassius extremely wealthy, Pompey very, very wealthy. Eventually, they'll drop out of the picture, and he will basically get all the power. Yeah.
Thank you.
Worth reading. He's
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so guys, I realize that what I'm basically doing is pulling you guys to a pile of rubble. Do not worry, I understand that. What I need you to do is I need you to use your imaginations. So if we backtrack a bit, when we're talking about Romulus and Remus, they lived in huts. So in the beginning, it is wooden huts. Very quickly, they will use volcanic stones to build their buildings. By the 2nd century BC, they'll be using brick and concrete. This is when the buildings really start to expand. What we're standing in right now, at one point, this has been a shop. So they built right into the side of the Palatine Hill. So you can see from the holes, extremely thick walls. Really thick walls, part of the function is to hold up the hill. But if you look back to either of these two walls, you will see even for basic structures, these buildings were built to last. So you've got extremely thick walls, concrete fill, will then be faced in brick. They will then cover that in plaster. Then what they will do is paint on the wet plaster in the style of fresco. So the same painting technique that Michelangelo will use on a ceiling. Being a shop, chances are one color, and more than likely red. That was the color of prosperity. However, the more money you had, the more elaborate the decorations could be. So there may have been architectural elements painted on the wall, maybe even a faux marble finish. So that way it looks like we're surrounded by marble, but it's just paint. The floor would have been a mosaic floor, so the workings of small tiles. Chances are black and white, chances are a very simple pattern. But again, the more money you had, the more elaborate the design, maybe they could even afford the color tops. There may have been a small mosaic on the wall, perhaps depicting fruit and vegetables, if that's what they sold, or maybe the goddess Fortuna.
That's fine.
Look at Pantheon.
Take as much as you can. Mommy can touch you.
Second tribe, the next hill over in the Capitoline Hill. He now is the third tribe on the other side of the Forum on the Esquiline Hill. What he feels he needs for a very effective reign, one central meeting spot where everyone can congregate. The place that makes the most sense to him is this valley, right in the center of the three hills. Logistically, this makes a lot of sense. However, at this time, this valley is full of swamp, full of marsh, mosquitoes everywhere. He needs to come up with a plan. He designs and he implements a drain. The drain is called the Colosseum Maxima. It's installed into the valley, drains out all of the swamp, all of the marsh, and it makes it possible to build the Forum. It is that same drain that still functions today that allows us to use the Forum. What the Forum was ancient Rome's downtown core. So if you can imagine wherever you're from in the world, whatever you use your downtowns for, it is the same use the ancient Romans had for the Forum. So their law courts were down here, law offices, banks, tax collectors. You go downtown, do a bit of shopping, meet a friend for coffee, get your hair cut. Everything we use our downtowns for is what the Forum grounds once were. Now, there were two roads that went through the Forum. The first one to be laid was called the Via Sacra, or the Sacred Way. The second road to be added was called the Via Nova, or the New Road. So directly below us, that is the Via Nova. Further in where the trees are, that is the Via Sacra. And the Sacred Way will take you right through to the very end of the Forum. So when you're walking on that road, you'll be walking on the original stones, not the original placement. Today, it is a very bumpy, very uneven road. When the Romans would have first laid that, that would have been so smooth, if you wanted to roll a blade, no problem whatsoever. The problem comes during the excavations. When they excavate the site, they dig up the road, they put all of the stones into one pile, they do not bother to number them, so when they go to put them back, they just put them back any old way. Not a good representation of a Roman road, but when you walk the Via Sacra, imagine in whose footsteps you may be walking in. Directly across from us are three massive arches. What we're looking at is literally half the building. So they've lost the half that would have extended towards it. That is the Basilica of Constantine. It was inaugurated in 313 AD. That is just one floor. That is only one level. So it gives you an idea of the scale that they're going to build upon. That particular building, that was the inspiration for the St. Peter's Basilica that we find today. Inside the Forum, there's a massive church. In front of the church, there are 6 huge columns. Leading from the Via Sacra, the base of the columns, there is a brick staircase. Is everybody with me? All right, so the church dates in the 1600s. The columns and the staircase, that is all that remains of the temple of Antonino and Faustina. It was erected in 141 AD. Previous to this, Antonino had been the emperor, Faustina was his wife. As was tradition when they died, they were deified. They were turned into a god and a goddess, and that very elaborate temple was built for them. That would have been extremely elaborate in its day. Those columns are monolithic. They're carved from one piece of marble. Now, the Romans didn't do this. When they constructed columns, they did one of two things. They were able to carve pieces of marble, no bigger than this. They would stack the pieces of marble, one on top of the other, hold them together with pins. The other thing they do is have a concrete core, they would then face in marble. Whenever you see an example of a monolithic column in Rome, you know for a fact it was carved in ancient Egypt or ancient Greece, then it was shipped all the way here.